Hello ARC fam, Noah here. Welcome back to the channel. Today for review we have the Masters of the Universe Origins Hurricane Hordak. He is part of the Club Grayskull membership, so I got him through the Club Grayskull membership. He was also available the day after he was released for Club Grayskull. Club Grayskull members get an entire 24 hours to themselves for purchasing, so that's pretty cool. Basically, this Hordak is based off of a vintage version of Hordak, the last vintage version from the original He-Man line. As you can see, he has a vac metal chest. You have the bat painted on there really nicely. On the back side, you also have a less detailed bat sculpt. And then you have copyright 2024 Mattel, and then like some numbers, and tells you that it's made in Vietnam. Overall, really cool looking figure. I'm really not a big fan of the original Hordak head. I like the vintage figure, but I do not like the original Origins Hordak head. So for me, the head that I will use for this character is the secondary head. This is the concept head. This is actually a really cool head. It's clearly closer to the end of the conceptualization process because the original concept head you can see right here on this Hordak. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Focus. Well, anyway, it's a very different head, as you can see. So this is pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and move this off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and swap this head out with this figure and show you how that looks. Let's go ahead and pop that on the ball joint and take a closer look at this head. As you can see, it's basically the same as all of the other Hordak heads. There are two different versions of the Hordak head in the Origins line. For the vintage inspired one, there's a laughing, more smiling face, and then there's this angry head. I always use the angry head on my figures. If you want to see a comparison between other Hordak heads, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the heads off of the first release and the Buzzsaw Hordak. So here we have the Origins Hordak, and then here we have the new Hurricane Hordak head. The color around the face is darker on this one than the new one, but overall still really cool. The way the eyes are painted is different, but the sculpt is exactly the same. As you can see right here, these eyelids are unpainted and the black part of the eyes is smaller, as well as the red. Here the eyelids are painted black and the whole entire eye is red. I actually like this a little bit better. Here we have the Buzzsaw Hordak head. The grays are different between these two as well, whereas this is more blue-gray and this is more of like a warm gray. But they're painted basically the same otherwise, so that's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and move these heads off to the side. This is the head that goes to the Hurricane Hordak, so I'm going to put that back here. And I'm going to go ahead and place these heads back on their respective bodies so that I don't lose them. My Buzzsaw Hordak and my regular Hordak are both slightly customized, so it won't be a perfect comparison, but it'll be really close. Articulation on this new head goes up about that far, down about that far. It rotates side to side. The other Hordak head, let me go ahead and show that off since I didn't think about that earlier. So the articulation on that, it does not look up any farther than that. It looks down, goes side to side. I just do not like the fact this entire hood armor piece is connected to the head. So I prefer no hood than a hood that's stuck to the head. The arms go outwards. They go forwards and backwards, bend at the elbow, swivel at the elbow, hinge at the wrist, swivel at the wrist, swivel at the waist. Legs go forwards about that far, backwards a little bit, bend at the knee, straighten the knee, spin at the knee, spin at the boot cut, hinge at the ankles, spin at the ankles. They also rock side to side just a little bit there. All the parts are still removable, so boots, waist is still removable. Here you can see that there's gray plastic for all the connector pieces, and the vac metal is just put over top of these little pieces, so the connections should not be very brittle. That's the thing about vac metal, is it's kind of brittle. As you can see right here, we have some red already chipping away right here, and a little bit more up here. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. There's some scratches and scuffs on the vac metal already. I will bring in some other vac metal characters for comparison later. Here we have the other bend at the elbow. Arms are removable. Wow. Well, I know they're removable, but that's very tight. There we go. That took a lot of force, but they are removable. Let's see if the other side's as tight. Nope, other side's very easy to remove, so I don't know what the deal is with that. As you can see here, there's a V-neck cut on this armor, which shows off the gray neck and chest, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and put the boot back on here. So, as you see, he also has the Horde armband, so that's pretty cool. It is removable as well. Just soft rubber, so it slides all the way off. Wrists and hands are still removable, which I'll show you on the right-hand side of the character, because that is where the cannon will attach. I've already had the cannon on my figure a few times, so you can see there's actually a lot of scuffing and scratches from that cannon on this black glove. There's like some indents and scuffing, so that's kind of disappointing. I'm going to go ahead and remove this hand. Very easy to remove. Then you just bring in this cannon arm. Right now we don't have anything attached to it. Here's the detailing on it. Looks a lot like the vintage. Of course, it's a little bit different. Main thing being the dial on the actual cannon rather than on the back with the straight arm. I was going to pick up a vintage one at a local shop before I did this video, but I forgot to, so I'll do a short eventually if I end up picking up that vintage figure. I may not. I'm not sure about that, but here's how that looks on the figure. Looks pretty cool, so even if you don't want to use any of the spin blade weapons or anything, you have this standard cannon, so it's kind of Filmation style. Oops. Just hit the camera. Sorry about that. I'm going to bring in a blast effect from the Turtles of Grayskull Hordak just to show off that you can plug in blast effects. So I don't think you would want to use a mutagen blast effect. You could use the one from Mousejaw, which is more fire-like. But there's how that would look. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the claw weapon for Hordak. So you just plug that in really easily, and then you just spin this dial, and even just one flick spins for a while with just one flick. So for action feature-wise, Mattel did a fantastic job on this figure. But now let's see, does he actually hold a character like he's supposed to? I've seen a lot of toy tubers struggle with actually having a figure stay on the claw to spin it. So I'm going to just bring in this sketchbook series Hordak and see how hard it actually is. I do believe you're supposed to open the arms on the characters like that. Let me raise the camera just a bit. Here we go. So I think you're just supposed to place the legs in a particular position and then place the arms down on the sides. I'm just winging this. I've only tried it once off camera, and I did not try it before the video. I tried it a few weeks ago. So he seems to be on there pretty good. Now let's take the dial. Oops. Let's reposition that arm a little bit. Here we go. That should do it. Maybe not. I'm going to try that again. I definitely think this is not a very, very good action feature because of the way it actually works and having to have your hand on this arm the whole time, but I mean, it works. It's powerful enough to spin this figure. I mean, I don't think it's a very easy spin per se, or very practical use for the claw, but I mean, it does work, and I think you can get Hordak to balance with a figure on top like that. Let me see about that. Let's see. So you can get him to balance. I don't think it's very practical for shelf use. I don't think it would last for long because this arm is already getting loose at the elbow, so it would eventually give out, and you'd have something like that that would knock down both figures. But overall, still a cool accessory. It's true to the vintage design. Let's go ahead and reposition this camera back down. Here we go. Another use for this could be just to make a fan and just blow hurricane force winds at your enemies. For the comic book that he comes with, he's actually fights Cyclone, so that's pretty cool. I'll show that off here in a second if I can find it. I think I've already put it up in storage, but I think I can get it out for you guys. Anyhow, spins very well. You can use it like a helicopter hand. He did do that in the comics to fly. You just take this and he spins and flies all the way off camera. So that's pretty cool. Bringing him back in, we're going to go ahead and remove this accessory. Easy pop out and bring in the triple bolo accessory. Here we have what a lot of toy tubers are calling veiny balls. I personally do not like calling them veiny balls. That sounds kind of weird. I'd rather say that this is vine-covered bolo weapon or something like that. I don't really know exactly what these are supposed to be, what these little veiny, viney-looking things are, but looks pretty cool. It's true to the vintage as well. This also spins pretty good. I don't really know how powerful it is. I don't think you can knock down a figure with it. I can test that out, though, with this Hordak that I used earlier for the other comparison. Here we go. Let's bring him into frame. I personally do not consider this guy Hordak, really. I consider him more like a grunt or a brute that works for the Horde. Yeah, I don't think it's powerful enough to knock down a figure, at least not the way I'm doing it. It keeps hitting the figure's chest. Maybe, but it took a lot to make the figure fall down, so I'm not sure if that's a practical action feature, but it works. We're going to go ahead and move on to comparisons and part swapping. Okay, while off camera, I went and looked for the comic books that go with my exclusive figures that I got in my Mattel Creation Toy Haul video. Apparently, I've put them away in storage, and I cannot find them. I did not plan to actually show off much of the comic books anyway in my videos. So if you guys want to see the comic books, just head on to Pixel Dan's channel or the Man-Child's channel. They kind of go through the comic books. I don't think they're 100% thorough, but they're pretty thorough, so you can just pause and read the comic book on their screen. If you guys want to pick these up, the aftermarket should still have all of the figures that I'm going to be doing in my exclusive videos. So if you want to do that, just go ahead and head over to eBay or something like that and pick up the figures they shouldn't be too expensive. Here we have the Sketchbook Series Hordak. First thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and swap the heads. So I'm going to pop that off and then pop this off. I'm just going to put this head on the Hurricane Hordak body. There's how that would look. I don't really like the way that looks, but I mean, that's up to you guys. Here I have the other Hordak head on the Sketchbook Series body. Now that looks great. Simply because this head has the exact same skin tone. So overall, that is really, really cool looking in my opinion. I honestly could just see using this as like a child of Hordak or something like that. Overall, really, really cool looking on this side. Now I'm going to go ahead and swap this cannon onto the arm and see how that looks. Really quick before I do that, I also want to show off this accessory that goes with the Hurricane Hordak. I had forgot to bring this one out. This is actually my favorite version. That's what I use on my shelf for weapon-wise. So I'm surprised that I forgot about it. Anyway, here's how it spins. Designed to look like bat wings, one going in each direction. We can go ahead and pop that back on this arm just to show how that looks with the figure. So here's how that would look. Of course, I still have the Sketchbook Series head on. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and swap the cannon arm onto the Sketchbook body. I have swapped the cannon arm onto this Sketchbook Series figure. Sorry about the camera shaking just then. I accidentally hit it with my arm again. Anyhow, that looks pretty cool on this figure. You can put it on either side because it's just a standard peg. You still spin it. And then you can have double cannon action. So, I mean, if you want to have Hurricane over here and then shooting somebody with the other side, that works. There's also a fun fact about this cannon arm. The blast effect that comes with the sky sleds can plug into this cannon arm so it looks like he's shooting off red fire. So that's pretty cool. Just something I wanted to point out to you guys if you had not figured that out already. Overall, this looks pretty cool. Let's go ahead and swap some more parts. As you can see here, I've went ahead and removed the Sketchbook Series boots and put on the Hurricane Hordak boots and the Hurricane Hordak armband. Believe me, it is a pain in the you-know-what to remove these boots, but it is possible. You just need a lot of force and a lot of patience and a little bit of pain to the fingers to remove it, but it is possible. The only thing that gets in the way are these leg bands that clearly in the factory were assembled with the legs completely apart to where this just slipped over the top of the knee and then this plugged into the foot. But it is possible to remove, but very, very complicated. So I'm not going to put these on the other figures simply because of that reason. But here's how that would look on this body. We can go ahead and show off the other head as well. So here's the standard Hordak head. It does not clamp all the way down because of these spikes around the armor. But if you want to do some customization, that's how that would look. I mean, it looks pretty cool. I hope you guys can't hear those ravens in the background. I can hear them cawing outside of my house. Clearly their conspiracy just flew by. Anyway, I'm going to try one more thing with this figure's body, and then I'm going to move on to comparisons with other figures. So what I wanted to show you guys, I knew that wouldn't work, but I wanted to show you guys, this cannon is removable from the Sketchbook Series arm, but it's a totally different peg system than this new cannon, so you cannot put it on this arm. You would have to replace the entire forearm piece if you wanted to keep the shoulder piece. You can slide this over the wrist over here, but it's not actually connected, so I wouldn't recommend it, and I don't like the gray on this cannon anyway. So overall, I think you should just stick to this cannon on this arm and this cannon on that arm if you want to have dual cannons on this base body. Moving on. Putting the Sketchbook Series Hordak to the side, we're going to go ahead and move on to a comparison with the vintage-inspired Hordak. As I said before, there are some customizations to this figure, so he is not 100% accurate to the store-bought, but pretty close. As you can see, the only difference is I have a Cartoon Collection belt because I used the Hordak belt for something different. Well, I plan to. I haven't yet, so I'm probably going to switch that back soon. And I have replaced the feet with Beastman feet that I painted black. I never liked these feet very much, but I actually have a spare pair to put back on these boots, and I think I'm going to do that just where I can have a standard figure with a cannon arm. As you can see here, I took a cyborg arm from a DC Classics figure. I dremeled it out to where it was hollow and could fit over this wrist. It can fit with the hand still plugged in to the wrist, but I personally do not like doing that. It's much harder and it can warp the hand. But as you can see, it plugs right over the arm and looks really, really cool. So that's my Filmation Hordak cannon. When I get my Filmation Hordak, I might actually just keep this cannon on him instead. I'm not sure about that yet. But let's go ahead and do some part swapping with the cannons. So mine is easily removable, as is the factory one from Mattel. So you can just plug this onto the arm of the regular Hordak, and you can have a standard look Hordak without the vac metal with a cannon arm. So that's pretty cool looking. I like that a lot. I still like the vac metal just because I am a sucker for vac metal. I love stuff like Silverhawks and the metallic figures from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line. So I personally do like this armor and would like to use it for my Hurricane Hordak. This cannon I can just plug over top of that, and here's how that would look on my Hurricane Hordak. He would no longer be a Hurricane Hordak now, but he still looks pretty cool. So that's nice. If you want to, we can just pop this crossbow off and put it on this side. There is no need to swap arms because the arms are exactly the same. I forgot to put the band back on this arm, but the arms are exactly the same, except for I do have a trigger finger on this side that I got from a Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Bishop. I just did that because I did have a gun in Hordak's hand, but then I decided it even looks good with the crossbow to pretend he's pulling the trigger on the crossbow. Overall, that's how that would look. Like I said, there's no sense in part swapping anything else because it's exactly the same. I can swap the head to this body real quick to show you how that would look, but otherwise, everything is pretty much the same. So here's how that would look on this body. Looks pretty cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on. Once again, for comparison, I have my custom Buzzsaw Hordak alongside the Hurricane Hordak. The Buzzsaw Hordak is definitely very customized because I use parts from the Masters of the WWE Kane. Technically, it's just kit bashed, but in comparison to the standard Hordak, he looks very different now. Here you can see I just took the Kane arm and put the Horde armband on there. Kane legs, put on the Hordak crotch piece, and took the Kane cannon arm because I wanted a Hordak with a cannon, and I like the color red. And blood red looks really cool with an evil character, vampire, warlock like Hordak is. So overall, that's how those look side by side. Part swap wise, I don't think that you would really need to do any part swaps. One thing that you can do though is remove this little piece from this cannon, and you can actually take this cannon over here and plug it into this cannon, and then you have an extra long cannon. So that's pretty cool. If you want like a super duper long arm Hordak that can spin his cannon around and shoot people, here you go. This is your Hordak. Putting his arm straight down, it does touch the ground. So that's something that you might want to watch out for if you decide to do this. I don't think you should. This cannon does not fit on the Kane arm or the Roboto arm because the peg is different. As you can see, you can just slide it over and it'll just stay on like that. But it doesn't actually clip on. But if you push hard enough, it is pretty tight because the way the arm is sculpted, it kind of snaps in just a tiny bit. So if you want to, you can do this, make this exact same custom at home. The only thing is there is gray painted in here, so that doesn't make any sense with the reds. So that's worth mentioning. Also, we can go ahead and pop all these parts off and make a Buzzsaw Hurricane Hordak. Let's see how that looks. I'm just going to go ahead and take and pop the cannon back onto the Hurricane Hordak body. Give me just 1 second. So here we have a Buzzsaw Hurricane Hordak. I took the regular Hordak head from the first release, put this on the body because I like the darker black. I took the parts from the Hurricane Hordak and attached it to the Buzzsaw Hordak chest. So here we have him ready to shoot off that Buzzsaw. Now we don't. Let's close this up. So here's how that would look. Very, very basic Hordak if you don't open the chest piece or look at the cape. The cape is definitely different the way it's attached. But overall, looks pretty decent. I like it. I don't know if you guys would choose this, but it looks pretty cool. Here we have Hurricane Hordak posed up with an Anti-Attorney He-Man axe. The next comparison, there's going to be no part swaps because you simply can't. He is not an Origins figure. This is the Hordak from the CGI cartoon. The heads do look like they might have took a little bit of inspiration from each other. Like this one has the same long spikes down the back of the head as this one does, rather than the simple crest like normal Hordaks do. But this is done in a more Filmation color scheme with red ears for some reason. But here's how they look together. They look decent. Moving on. Our last comparison, we have Hurricane Hordak alongside the Turtles of Grayskull Hordak. Those look pretty cool. If you do part swaps on this, the only thing that'll be strange for this torso is the gray cut right here. So that would not match up with the blues of this body. Here's how they look side by side. You can clip this armor over top of the vac metal, but it could scratch it, so I'm not going to do that. Here's the back side. Overall, pretty cool. I will go ahead and try and swap the heads, though. So let's pop this off. And I have an extra Hordak head over here to the side. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that one instead. I'm not going to use the hood piece. I'm just going to use the head by itself. So here's how that would look. Looks pretty cool. I personally think the more bone-colored head is better for the body and the overall color scheme. This head is a little bit too bright white for me. But overall, they look pretty cool together. That's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to comment down below about what you would like to see next. In fact, I'm actually going to do one more comparison time before I stop this video. I just remembered, I almost stopped the video, but I remembered that I told you guys I'd do a vac metal comparison. So let me go ahead and do that. Here we have Hurricane Hordak alongside Terrorclaw, Skeletor, and Flying Fist He-Man. Those are the three figures that came out near the same time as the vac metal figures for the vintage line. They look pretty cool together. Now, one more comparison with two other vac metal characters. Here we have Hurricane Hordak alongside the Battle Damage, Battle Armor He-Man from the Battle Cat 2-pack and the Club Grayskull Kickstarter Hero. So the vac metal on the Hero and Hordak is the same gold color, so that's pretty cool. Just wanted to show that off really quick. Hero will have his own review on the channel very soon. I hope you guys enjoy. Peace.